Late at night, two students are out in the park and they decide to kiss each other. However, just as the boy is about to reveal his feelings, he is interrupted by a notification on his phone, and we have better things to do than him checking out his phone. The show starts with a young man watching the wedding of his favorite idol, with whom he wishes to spend his life. However, due to the low birth rates of the country, Japan had to implement the Yukari law, a law that forced teenagers to marry certain people assigned by the government to promote an intelligent and healthy generation. However, with this law comes the disadvantage of giving up on your love and just waiting for a certain someone to pop into your life at the age of 16. A young student, Nejima, is sitting in his class contemplating his love for a popular girl named Takasaki. Even though he wishes to spend the rest of his life together with her, he doesn't think he is fortunate enough to be coupled with her. Another student, Takeda, reveals that he has been assigned a partner, although he doesn't want to get married as he believes it is against his morals to just marry someone without loving them properly. After a thorough discussion, he convinces his friends to rebel against the government and find someone they love from all their hearts. They promise each other, and suddenly the popular girl, Takasaki, also joins in as she doesn't want to marry either. Later that night, Nejima recalls how he met Takasaki for the first time. While he was initially shy, so much so that he couldn't even look into her eyes, the feelings quickly changed when she gently whispered thank you in his ear. A soft breeze carried presence into his heart, and love bloomed like bright red amaryllis. His passion is at its peak right now, pouring down from the bowl of his heart, and Nejima vows to confess his feelings to her the following day. In the morning, he encounters her in the hallway and tries telling her about their youthful encounter. However, much to his embarrassment, she doesn't remember any of it, and Nejima is disappointed that a memory that he cherished so much is not even worth listening to. As she is about to leave, he musters up the courage to tell her that he will be awaiting her in a certain spot, though it is up to her whether she wants to meet him. Later, he realizes that she isn't coming but still thinks about various excuses that perhaps she might be late due to some inconvenience. When no hope is left, he finally decides to leave, but before that, he wants to build burial mounds. After finishing his work, the 3rd platoon officers arrive, who are curious to know what a young man would be doing outside at this hour. He explains everything, and just as he is about to leave, Takasaki comes running from behind and stops him. The other apologizes for being late, and he explains all about the burial mounds to her. Takasaki remembers his passion for his research and commends him, and reveals that earlier today when she told him she didn't remember him, she was lying. She had always loved him, but couldn't reveal her feelings as she knew they would be forced to obey the law. Moreover, she remembers their memory of Nejima giving his eraser to her, and ever since that moment, she wanted to spend the rest of her life together with Nejima. Before they leave, she wants to kiss him as proof of her feelings, and the two go for a kiss. However, they are disturbed when the marriage notifications arrive on Nejima's phone. He is amazed to find his partner will be Takasaki, the girl of his dreams. However, this happiness doesn't last long as the phone turns off automatically and members of the health ministry arrive to hand him documents. Nejima is astonished to find that the person is different in the documents and tries reasoning with them, but the others assure him that the documents are absolute and no mistake is possible in there. Nejima doesn't know how to express his disappointment and tries convincing Takasaki that he will check it out with the government, but isn't successful. She wishes him a happy birthday before running off. Takasaki knew that simply living a happy life would be impossible in this day and age, but the thought of being together with the person she loved prevailed over her fears, only for the misery to rise once again. After catching up with her, Nejima slowly embraces her to assure her that he will be there for her in every stage of her life, and the two will prevail over the concept of forced marriages. Meanwhile, another girl receives a text about Nejima being her chosen partner. Later, when Nejima gets back home, his parents want to visit the girl tomorrow, so they can be done with it as soon as possible. Nejima doesn't feel like seeing her right away and instead heads off to school. His friends notice him behind the mask and inquire about what he's doing at school on his birthday. When he tells them about the promise they made, the others are just surprised and Nejima is astonished that they all took back their words. His instructor kicks him out of the class as he needs to see his future wife, although he wanted to talk with Takasaki before he left. Just as he is about to leave, Takasaki appears behind the door and reveals that it would be better for him to meet his future wife and forget her. Like the nerd he is, he gets confused by her statement and believes that the other hates him now. Afterward, they are at the state of his future wife, and after he gets bored from greetings and all the formalities, he barges into a room to get rid of boredom. Surprise, surprise, his future wife is sitting in there and he is forced to head out embarrassingly. Afterward, they were all set to talk. After her initial introduction, Nejima's parents are amazed at how intelligent she is and believe she makes a good pair with Nejima, albeit the other doesn't have many accomplishments compared to her. Suddenly, Senator Ririna gets infuriated as Nejima isn't even trying to be interesting and just looks as if he is ready to leave as soon as he is done talking. After having enough of his rude personality, the other leaves in anger, and Nejima is forced to go after her. Though he isn't lucky in finding her, his luck does manage to stumble upon her as she pulls him into a room. Suddenly, he finds himself on top of her, and he can't help but not peek at her shirt's undone button, though he doesn't tell her. Nejima explains his earlier behavior and tells her that he feels like being hated by Takasaki. Sanada is an incredibly curious person, and she wants to know all about Takasaki. Thus, he describes the whole situation in detail. After having an opinion or two about it, Sanada assures him that she's just trying to hide something, and further, she wants to meet Takasaki so she can help him. The two then get back to their families, holding each other's hands when Nejima, out of the blue, tells her that her shirt's button has been undone for quite a while, receiving a slap as a thank you. The following day, he informs his friends about going to Sanada's school as she asks him to come over. They are surprised that he so quickly changed his opinion and are mesmerized by how pretty she is. Nisaka knows about Nejima and Takasaki's affair and wants the latter to see the other's future wife. However, Takasaki is blunt in refusing his request. Later, he heads over to the girls' school, and after asking a bit around, he finds out Sanada is in the nursery office due to her illness. When Nejima asks about the nickname he heard from her seniors, she informs him how socially awkward she is, and it is difficult to make friends for her. On the other hand, Nejima is worried more about her wearing no skirt as he believes he will be the one getting punished for it. As they are about to leave, he points this out, and the other is embarrassed that he saw her like that. Afterward, as they are about to leave, Nejima wants to know the reason she asked him to come over, and the other responds that she is curious about Takasaki. She wants to know everything about her. Suddenly, Nejima spots Takasaki passing by, and Sanada immediately approaches her to introduce herself. The two head over to a nearby cafe to discuss everything while Nejima lends an ear hiddenly. When Sanada asks her about the things she likes about Nejima, the other pulls up a whole lengthy article about his hair. And she's amazed that someone could be this madly in love with someone, but this is just one aspect out of many she likes about him. Listening secretly, Nejima still wonders whether the other has the same love and home for him in her heart as he does. Just as they are about to leave, Takasaki is curious about what Sanada finds the most likable aspect of Nejima, and the other responds that his cool composure is something that blossoms in the environment. Takasaki wants to spend more time with her as this is the first time she has so much fun talking to someone, and Sanada has teary eyes as she just made a new friend. Although she is confused about whether she just considers her a friend or someone she likes. Hearing this, Nejima asks whether she wants to kiss her, and the other immediately concludes that the other must have kissed her before. Nejima admits kissing her, and instead of getting mad, Sanada wants him to kiss her once more to know whether he is still in love with her. At the school, Takasaki confronts Nejima and asks whether Sanada has talked about her. The other reveals that she wants the two of them to kiss once a day. Misaka notices the anxiety on his face and wonders whether his future wife has already divorced him. The other reveals that she has asked him to come over to her house but doesn't have any idea what they are going to do there. Misaka recalls how the two of them friended each other and assures him that he will do just fine. On Sunday, he heads over to her house, only to find her infuriated as he is a bit late. Sanada's mother tells them the three should enjoy their time, and Nejima wonders who the other person is, completely unaware that it is Takasaki. Inside Sanada's room, Takasaki doesn't dare to speak to him much and wants to leave, but Sanada convinces them to stay for just a bit and wants the two of them to kiss before her. Takasaki is embarrassed and runs off to the washroom while Nejima lectures Sanada on how something like this would make her uncomfortable. Anyways, the other gets back and is ready to kiss him. However, just as they are about to feel each other's lips, Sanada doesn't feel she can watch this and Takasaki decides to leave. Before she leaves the house, she confesses that she wants Sanada to fall in love with Nejima, as it is best for their future. But the other is still hinged on seeing them kiss each other. Later that night, the two go outside and stumble upon Nisaka, who immediately jokes about Canada being a virgin after the initial introduction. She is enraged at hearing this remark, but what can she do as the other heads off instantly? Sanada states that guys like him are always perverts who see everything as a tool, but the other assures her that he is a good friend. The following day at school, Nejima notices that something is going on between Nisaka and Takasaki, but doesn't quite understand as he feels he knows nothing about Nisaka. Later, while Takasaki asks him about Sanada, the other informs him that she is still bent on the two of them kissing, and the next moment you know the two are all over each other. Nisaka spots them but decides to remain silent. Afterward, Nejima texts Nisaka as he wants to ask something, and the other assures him that he will visit him later. After he arrives, he finds Nejima sleeping, leaning on the desk, and slowly leans in for a kiss. After Nejima wakes up, he asks whether the other has feelings for Takasaki, but Nisaka assures him that he doesn't have his eyes on any girl in their classroom. Nejima's parents have invited Sanada over to their apartment and want to know how the two of them are progressing. When they bring up the subject of kissing, she wants to leave and the two head over to Nejima's room. Sanada is astonished that a room could look like a garbage can, and the two quickly clean it up. She is really interested in his middle school album, and after going through it all, she is curious about the exact moment Nejima fell in love with Takasaki. After describing everything in detail, the other is still dead-bent on them kissing together. After asking whether they had kissed today, the other reveals that they did, albeit he doesn't know whether it made the other one happy. Regardless, she encourages him to continue kissing her every day, and in case he backs off, Sanada will never help him again. Suddenly, she slips, and the next thing you know, she is on top of him. However, members of the health ministry arrive to inquire about the progression of their relationship. They reveal how it is fairly common for a couple to start kissing each other within a week, but once Nejima informs them that he doesn't have those feelings yet, they assure him that it may take some time. Moreover, the couples are chosen based on detailed observation, and there is little to no chance their marriages will fail as the government takes the whole personality and finds a perfect match for it that could last lifelong. As they are about to leave, they ask about Takasaki's address, and Nejima is astonished that she finally received her notice, and now he feels as if his life has been torn apart. Seeing his miserable face, Sanada warns him to never give up on his feelings and to continue kissing her. Afterward, he walks her off to her house, and on their way, he reveals that he isn't going to kiss her anymore as she will likely have someone else now. However, Sanada isn't one to go back on her words, and she still demands that he doesn't give up on his love. The following day, he tries hard to confront her, but ultimately fails. Fortunately, he gets an opportunity later, and when he asks about the notice, she informs him that it is for someone else in her house. The two go in for a kiss once again, and she assures him that even if she gets a notice, he will be the only special guy in her heart. Afterward, Takasaki meets up with a friend and asks whether life would be better if there were no lies, though they don't conclude anything from it. At night, Sanada calls him to inform him about the camp trip Nejima's parents have arranged and reveals that she has invited Takasaki as well. Handling one girl alone would be difficult enough, and now there are two. Nejima asks for Nisaka's assistance, and after much difficulty, he manages to persuade him to tag along. After everyone gets together before heading to the train, Nisaka is astonished that Takasaki is tagging along too. On the other hand, Sanada isn't happy that he invited a pervert as the incident didn't go well with her the other day. While they are arguing, Nejima notices that the chemistry between Takasaki and Nisaka is unique, suspecting that the latter has feelings for the other. On the train, Sanada isn't shy about revealing that their group is too awkward, to which Nejima responds that this is how they will get close to each other. After arriving at their destination, Nejima is instructed to make dinner, and as Nisaka seems like he might be a good cook, Nejima asks for his help. Much to his surprise, the other has zero culinary skills, so much so that he doesn't even know how to properly wash the vegetables. In the end, Nejima is forced to prepare everything. After getting done with it, he heads off to find the girls who are wandering around in the forest, and he finds them swimming. However, since they are in their swimsuits, Nejima feels shy in confronting them. Sanada notices him, but just as she is approaching him, she injures herself, and Nejima volunteers to carry her to the camp. He can't keep his head straight as her soft, healthier body is always on his mind, and the other starts breathing heavily, making things difficult for him. Now that she has gotten enough rest, she heads off to the camp while Nejima is once again assured that Nisaka has feelings for Takasaki, seeing as they are always arguing over something. Sanada's father tends to her injury, and he asks Nejima about his passion. The young man is enthusiastic about burial mounds and wants to be a professional researcher when he grows up. As they are about to sleep, Nejima wants to find out about Nick's feelings for Takasaki. However, the other confuses it for his feelings toward him and is about to confess when Sanada disturbs them. She wants to test their courage and form two groups to wander inside the forest late at night. Sanada and Nisaka head off in one direction, and the former starts talking about the other two. Nisaka realizes that she wants the two of them to be together, but doesn't understand why she would sideline herself for their sake. Meanwhile, Takasaki asks Nejima to hold her hand, and as the two progress, they fall off a small cliff. After ending up in another weird situation, Takasaki just wants this moment to last longer and asks him to stay still. On the other hand, Nisaka informs her about the dangerous consequences that could see Nejima not making it to college due to rejecting his match and not being able to pursue his passion. The two find them, and Nisaka immediately wants to know whether he banged her. On their way back, they stumble upon a beautiful scenery illuminated by a bunch of fireflies, and Nejima just wants this moment to last forever. After they return, Nejima apologizes to Nisaka for asking a weird question back on the trip, but the other still doesn't reveal anything. Sanada has a dream of Nejima kissing her. Curious about the details, she heads off to the library to learn everything about kissing, and a random girl encounters who wants to be her friend. the girl is revealed to be the younger sister of a Dr. Sanada used to visit. Seeing as she is too shy, Arisa decides to leave, though Sanada quickly stops her and lends a hand to the friendship. Meanwhile, Nejima is worried as he hasn't seen Nisaka yet and wanders around with Takeita. He tries talking to Takasaki, but the other is busy and excuses herself. Suddenly, the teacher informs him about their interview at the ministry house and instructs them to head off there. On the way, he encounters Nisaka, and even though he knows what happens in the interview, he doesn't reveal anything to them. At the ministry hall, everyone is together with their partner, and he is amazed that Takeita has a healthy smile on his face with his assigned partner. Sanada arrives a bit late, but to make up for it, she has a gift for him. He gives one to her as well, and her interview starts. Starting with the first one, the interviewee makes them watch an adult movie to arouse them. However, just before it ends, one of the judges notices the impression on Nejima's face and approaches him to ask whether he thinks his love for Takasaki is real. He is left stunned, and their next task is to spend the night together with their lovers. Nejima can't fathom how he can get himself to touch Sanada, and while the other one is shy as well, she knows they have no alternate choice. Even though she wants to take a bath first, Nejima pushes himself on top of her, both of them grasping heavily. As he lays on top of her, he goes for a kiss, and although the other initially resists, the two still pull it off somehow. This doesn't go well with Sanada afterward, as her teary eyes couldn't believe he forced himself to touch her and doesn't want to near her again. Apparently, Nejima heard from another student that they would be penalized for refusing to embrace each other, and the other lectures him on how dumb he is. Disappointed, he spends the rest of the night away from her, and she leaves in the morning without saying her goodbyes. He encounters the judge, who tells him that they are being watched, and the other is surprised that someone even took him seriously. After Nejima reveals that he couldn't bring himself to have sex with her, the other wants him to ponder whether he would have done it with Takasaki. The following day, he finds Nisaka practicing for the cultural festival, and as the other realizes he is there, he gets embarrassed. Afterward, he wounds himself to protect the gift Sanada handed him and is found in the nurse's office. Worried, Takasaki quickly heads in there to ask what sort of troubling times he faces. Nejima explains everything to her, and she invites Sanada for a quick hangout. Takasaki informs her that the other is feeling down, and instead of blaming him, Sanada feels sorry about whatever happened. At the school, a member of the health ministry is there, and Nejima accidentally encounters him. The two sit down for a quick talk as Nejima wants advice. The other reveals how he couldn't get to be with the person he loved and encourages him to seek out his love. With a new goal in mind, he texts Sanada to invite her over to their cultural festival. And in turn, the other responds to him with a letter, worried about his health, and wishes him luck for the festival. Meanwhile, Takasaki is practicing but can't take Sanada out of her mind, as she believes she is still in love with Nejima. Everyone is preparing for the cultural festival, and Nejima is busy with his duties. Takasaki checks up on him, and he assures her that he is doing well now. Moreover, he managed to write a letter for Sanada, though he has yet to apologize. Later, while everyone is practicing their role, Nejima doesn't find Nisaka in the room. He knows where the other is and enters the classroom to meet him up. After they head back to the preparation room, the outfits for the stage drama are revealed, and Nisaka doesn't seem to be a fan of it. He immediately heads home, and Nejima follows him to find out what bothered him. Even though the other doesn't want it around in these cringeworthy times, Nejima still grabs him, to which he responds with a push. Suddenly, Nisaka's father appears and stops him from running away. He reprimands him for pushing his friend, and as an apology to Nejima, takes them out to eat something. At the restaurant, while Nisaka excuses himself, his father reveals that while he was a bright young student in his early days, he doesn't seem to have many friends now. When he gets back, his father tells him to treasure his friend, as good friends are hard to come by. Later, the two of them are on their way home together when Nejima tries convincing him to play Juliet. The other refuses his request initially, but after much persuading, Nejima is successful. Nejima feels that their lives are similar to those of Romeo and Juliet, as they are forced to be assigned to people they don't want as they have each other. However, the other tells him that it isn't so deep, and he should just relax a little bit. The following day, after they have their sizes taken in for clothing and other stuff, Takasaki helps Nejima in carrying posters outside. The other reveals that she has been heartbroken ever since the other got his notice, but he assures her that she is the only one in his heart, although lately some encounters had made him question what love even is. The other reveals that she had been crazy for him for the past few years, looking out for him from every corner, but still, she is unsure whether that is something that qualifies as love. Nejima is extending invitations to the play, and at that moment his eyes lay upon the sparkling elegance of Takasaki, quavering even the sturdiest of hearts. However, before he could approach her, other girls from his middle school arrived, and he was forced to sneak out. After getting away from there, he stumbles upon Yajima, the member of the health ministry office, and Nejima once again informs him about the notice he received on the phone. He is unsure whether someone was playing with him, but assures Nejima that the documents are absolute and no error can take place. However, he will look into it further to make him convinced. On the other hand, Sanada arrives at the school for the festival, but she's too nervous to enter. Luckily, she is tagged along by the cheerful and social Arisa, who helps her calm down. The two find Nejima in the hallway, who is busy offering invitations. Both are stunned at seeing each other, but due to nervousness, they fail to communicate properly. After she heads off to the hall, Nejima meets up with Misaka, who is just getting set for the main event. Nejima informs him about Sanada, but doesn't feel she has forgiven him yet. The other tells him that her accepting the invitation should be proof enough to suggest that she isn't out for blood. Nejima wants to see him in his dress, but the other buzzies him off. Since he is free, he volunteers his colleagues for help with all the things they are busy with. Suddenly, he spots the dazzling Takasaki but fails to approach her as she is taken away by her friends. Although he is fortunate in taking a look at the fresh piece of femboy Nisaka. During the play, both give their hearts out to deliver spectacular performances and succeed in producing a fine piece of play. Afterward, he wants to check up on Takasaki, but before he can see her, he is stopped by Igarashi, a classmate from the middle school who informs him of the disturbing news of Takasaki being his original partner. Sanada overhears the two and she wants to know everything in detail. However, the other doesn't elaborate much except that Takasaki wants to protect something and Igarashi is willing to do anything for her. After she leaves, the two decide to confront Takasaki and ask about her contact so they can get everything out of her. And instead of getting her contact, Sanada is amazed by the brilliance of Misaka's cosplay. However, she is massively disappointed after knowing his identity. Misaka's father and brother are there as well, and they invite everyone to the latter's wedding, embarrassing Misaka. Later at night, Nejima tries contacting Takasaki, but isn't successful as the other is too busy, and the two will have to wait before hearing the whole thing. The next day, Nejima manages to text her but is astounded to find he is blocked by her. Disappointed, he asks Sanada to do it, and Igarashi immediately responds to her to talk about hating someone passionately. The two head off to meet her, and Sanada immediately wants to know about the alternative notice. Since this isn't the kind of conversation they should be having publicly, Igarashi takes them to a cat cafe, where she explains that ever since her days in middle school, she has noticed Takasaki madly in love with Nejima. Igarashi feels that the bond they share is more important than the notices and believes that love should prevail. Apparently, her grandmother was the one who made this system, and now she has to suffer because of it. Yajima enters to stop her from pestering their minds with different ideas, and in return, she leaves without paying, forcing him to pay in her stead. Sanada inquires whether she will be sidelined, but the other doesn't know what he should do and decides to go with the flow. As they are about to enter the wedding hall, Nejima wonders whether he should choose Takasaki or obey the law and stick to Sanada. They are promptly stopped by a photographer who wants to shoot the girls in wedding dresses. After the wedding speech, they line up for a photo with a newly wedded couple, but Nejima gets back to the hall to pick up his phone. He is surprised to find Takasaki there, even more when he notices her sparkling eyes brimming with tears. The other is having a difficult time giving up on all of her feelings and fears that she will lose everything. Nejima assures her that he will always be there for her before heading for a kiss. Sanada follows him and is astonished to find them kissing, but doesn't intervene and decides to ignore. Later, his parents inform him about the visit to the hot springs along with Sanada's family, and Sanada escorts him there. Even though she has stuff she wants answers to, she decides to forget everything and just enjoy whatever is happening presently. In the hot spring, both of them are alone in their respective spots, and Sanada asks about his love for Takasaki. The other pulls up a whole para, describing how he built his whole personality around her, causing the other to wonder whether what he is today is because of her. However, their fathers enter and Nejima is forced to act like nothing even happened. At midnight, Sanada cannot sleep because of all the stuff buzzing in her mind, and she reveals that she wants him to choose Takasaki over her. Sanada feels that she has become what she is because of the two of them, and is grateful for their support. Just in return for that, she is willing to sacrifice her love life and see them succeed in their struggle. Nejima can't believe what he is hearing, as never expected the other one to do so much for him. To make up for it, Nejima admits to kissing Takasaki in the marriage hall, and the other assures her that it doesn't bother her. Sanada believes that if they continue to lie during their next interviews, their marriage will be cancelled and the government will be forced to assign Takasaki to him. However, since this is probably the last night they are staying together, she wants him all over her, kissing her till their hearts are fulfilled. The following morning, it's their bridal shoot and Takasaki and Sanada rush off to the location. Even though Nejima is asked to come by, he refuses to leave his room, and Nisaka is compelled to convince him to head over. At the hall, Takasaki has signs of nervousness on her face, and Sanada cheers her up by telling her how she would look good with Nejima. However, the other wants to give up on her love as she believes it will just hurt the two of them to continue like this. During the photo shoot, Takasaki wants to know whether the other invited Nejima, and Sanada believes she did, but she isn't sure why he would be so late. Suddenly, the door opens and comes in their night. The three shoot together, and Nejima affirms that he wants to live through this love full of lies. Do you think the peachy girl would ever win over his love? What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. For now, leave us a like and subscribe to our channel for more content.